Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk just dropped an absolute bombshell. You see, he has just uncovered that a far left political action group called Act Blue has been directly funding the domestic terrorist attacks that have been targeting Tesla dealerships across the country. Now, before we get into what Elon Musk has to say about all of this, I want you guys to really understand the type of destruction here that we're really talking about. You see, we're not just talking about random acts of vandalism. No, we're talking about coordinated, politically motivated acts of domestic terrorism. And so before we really get into all of this, I want you guys to take a look at this highlight reel, which shows just some of the Tesla dealership attacks that have been happening all across the country.
Some of their windows are now boarded up. This is because early Wednesday morning, the windows at this dealership were damaged by gunshots. Take a look at these photos from Salem police. You can see the bullet holes in the window and the shattered glass at the Tesla dealership on Mission Street in Salem. Salem police tells Fox 12 that the FBI is now assisting with the investigation. The shooting incident comes just weeks after a car was set on fire at the same Tesla dealership.
Charred in various shades of black. Evidence of the fire that broke out in this Littleton parking lot last night. And the fire chief says these flames were no accident.
At this point, it does appear that it was a set fire.
Around 1 a.m., firefighters were called to Constitution Ave and found 7 Tesla charging stations up in flames. They burned for nearly an hour.
Nobody voted for Elon Musk. Nobody voted for Elon Musk. Nobody voted for
Police taped bullet holes and shattered glass. Crews spent the day cleaning up the Tesla dealership after investigators say someone shot it up overnight Thursday, causing tens of thousands of dollars in damage.
When employees showed up to work this morning, that's when they discovered the damage.
Tigard police say someone fired at least 7 shots, damaging 3 cars and shattering windows. Fortunately, it happened overnight when employees were gone.
I think the concerning thing for the employees is that it happened at all, and that one of those shots went into an office and into a computer monitor. Ultimately, we're just thankful that nobody was hurt.
The latest vandalism comes just one day after federal investigators say they arrested a man in Salem for similar crimes. He's accused of throwing Molotov cocktails and shooting at the Tesla dealership there. Like in that case, Tigard police are now working with the FBI and ATF to determine if the latest vandalism is politically motivated.
So yeah, as you guys can see, this stuff is not good. This is serious. And as we said earlier, these attacks aren't just some random series of events. No, in reality, they're being funded by a radical far-left progressive organization. And so just earlier today, Elon Musk went public with his findings. Here's exactly what he had to say. An investigation has found 5 Act Blue funded groups responsible for the Tesla protests: Troublemakers, Disruption Project, Rise and Resist, Indivisible Project, and Democratic Socialists of America. Act Blue funders include George Soros, Reid Hoffman, Herbert Sandler, Patricia Baumann, and Leah Hunt Hendricks. Act Blue is currently under investigation for allowing foreign and illegal donations in criminal violation of campaign finance regulations. This week, 7 Act Blue senior officials resigned, including the Associate General Counsel. So folks, did you catch all of that? Not only is Act Blue under investigation for illegal foreign donations, but they're also directly funding these radical far-left groups that are behind these Tesla attacks. And by the way, these attacks are the pure textbook definition of domestic terrorism. Now, for those of you who don't know, Act Blue is one of the largest political fundraising machines for the Democratic Party. In fact, over the last 20 years, Act Blue has moved over $16 billion towards various radical progressive causes. And now we have the evidence to prove that some of that money is being used to fund acts of domestic terrorism. But you know what? Really, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I want to give you guys a better idea of how deep this corruption runs, so I did some research and put together a list of some of the biggest progressive causes that Act Blue has funneled money towards. So folks, here's a little breakdown of where Act Blue has been sending money over just the last couple of years. $1 billion for the 2024 Kamala Harris campaign. That didn't work out so well. Imagine wasting $1 billion on Kamala Harris, of all people. $149 million for the DNC's 2022 election cycle. How is the DNC doing these days, by the way? After all that money, things aren't looking too hot for them right now. $151 million for the 2024 Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, and guess what? Another $151 million for the 2024 Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Folks, it is absolutely astounding just how much money the Democrats are willing to pump in order to secure congressional seats. This should be illegal. $141 million for Jon Ossoff's 2021 Georgia Senate campaign. By the way, Jon Ossoff won his seat in the Senate with less than a 1% margin, so the Democrats were pretty much able to buy a Senate seat for $141 million. $185 million for Raphael Warnock's 2022 Georgia Senate campaign. Folks, this is pretty much the exact same story. The Democrats, through groups like Act Blue, are just buying spots in our government. $211 million for Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign. This was before they decided to throw him under the bus and go all in on Joe Biden. And finally, $30 million for a group called MoveOn.org, which is a radical left-wing activist group. And you know what? Between you and me, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it's groups like this that are behind the Tesla dealership attacks. So folks, as you can see, not only is Act Blue trying to buy out our entire government, but you know what? When that doesn't work, they just start paying people to blow up the opposition, quite literally. And so folks, if what Elon Musk is saying is true, and I would bet that it is, this isn't just outright corruption, folks, this is domestic terrorism. And hey, let's all not forget, this isn't the first time that we've seen stuff like this. Because we also know that the recent anti-Doge protests were paid for by progressive activist groups. And hey, let's not forget about the countless Antifa protests that have been fueled by these same left-wing donors. So folks, what all of this means is that the left's entire presence is completely fake and paid for. Their support is entirely manufactured, their voters are in the country illegally, their protests are paid for, their activists are hired, and when all else fails, guess what? They resort to domestic terrorism. And so hey, if you ask me, this nonsense has got to come to an end. But you know what? Let's be very clear. We have laws in this country that prohibit groups like Act Blue from engaging in this kind of criminal behavior. But as we all know, the Democrats have been getting away with it for years. That's why I think it's time we see some real consequences for this sort of stuff. I'm talking about massive investigations. I'm talking about breaking up these money laundering slush funds that allow these left-wing radicals to fund political violence. And above all else, I'm talking about actual prison time for the people that are involved in this. Because let's be real here for a second. At this point, we're not talking about political action groups. No, we're talking about radical left-wing criminal organizations. So folks, let's have a little recap here. Elon Musk has just exposed that a far-left slush fund called Act Blue has been funneling money into violent radical organizations. These groups have been behind the wave of Tesla dealership attacks across the country. Act Blue has already funneled billions of dollars into trying to buy elections, and now they're resorting to terrorism when their candidates don't win. And you know what, folks? This is insanity, and it's got to come to an end. So thank God that this stuff is finally getting exposed so that now we can finally do something about it. But now, folks, before we wrap up today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates relating to all of this. So if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that's going to be a wrap for this one. So please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there. Please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.